From FL1 News, you are listening to episode 185 of the Inside the FLX podcast. Today, we have another conversation featuring a candidate for local elected office. Scott Johnson is vying to become Sodus Town Supervisor in this November's general election. He's in studio with us today to talk about the town of Sodus, issues he thinks need to be resolved, and so much more. Thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So let's start at the beginning of your campaign. What was the decision process like? How did you go from concerned citizen, we'll say, to I'm running for town supervisor? What's that decision process like? Walk us through that.
I've always been a Sodus guy. I ran for town council 2 years ago, got on the town council, and I talked to our supervisor Leroy before I decided to run, and he was retiring. After he announced his retirement, I decided to pursue this, and for one simple reason, that I'd like to make Sodus a better place to live for all our residents and a better place for our visitors to visit.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, family component always comes into it, talking to friends, family, that sort of thing. What were the kinds of things that you were hearing leading up to that decision that sort of made it click for you, say, yeah, this is the right time, and let's do this?
It took a couple, 3 months. Obviously, my wife was very involved because we always have these conversations, no matter what it is I'm getting into, whether it's coaching or another business or something. I rely heavily on her opinion, and we started talking about it. Friends, I talked to friends about it. I got to admit, some people just go, what in the heck do you want to do this for? I want to do it for the town of Sodus. Simple as that. I want to do it because I want the job. Mm-hmm. I don't need the job. I want the job to help the town that I love. I'm a lifelong Sodus resident. I'm a Sodus guy.
And obviously, lifelong resident. Talk to us a little bit about sort of the change over, the change over the last, say, 10 to 20 to 30 years in a community like Sodus. Obviously, a lot of moving parts, a lot of changes economically and otherwise. What are some of the things that you and voters more broadly notice and want to see some change in?
Unfortunately, like any other small town, the Amazons, the Walmarts, the big box stores, BJ's, have taken our mom and pop stores away from us to a certain degree. We still have some, and we have some great shops in Sodus. But I'd like to see that expand, find a way. We got to think outside the box. We're not going to get an Amazon to come hire 5,000 people in Sodus. We need small businesses. We need to find a way to attract small businesses, 20, 30, 40 employees, that kind of thing. And that unfortunately has changed the economics of Sodus. We used to have a lot of Xerox and Kodak employees living in Sodus and making a great wage. And with those two businesses kind of declining the way they have, it has definitely hurt our town.
How difficult is it for a community like Sodus to compete with some of the cities and suburbs around, given how competitive it is right now, just to fight for what jobs and businesses are in New York State as it sits?
It's very tough. I mean, there are economic development things. Wayne County is trying to help with their economic development. There are grants and low interest loans out there for businesses to gather, and it's helping. I mean, you can see it in some towns. It's not helping as Sodus as much as I'd like to, and that's what I'm going to shoot for to change. I'd just like to bring more of that economic development that I see in Ontario and possibly Williamson to Sodus.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at the role of town supervisor, what do you see that position as? Is it meant to be sort of a community organizer? Is it meant to be kind of like the leader in terms of having these conversations with businesses, with stakeholders? Or is it some kind of hybrid of community input and also trying to be that economic developer too?
A little bit of everything. I've met with Pam Helming and Brian Mangtalo, two really great people that are fighting to help our region. It's pushing for help from them. It's everything. You got to be a community organizer, and I have been for the last 40 years in Sodus. with different sports and different organizations. But manager, you're going to manage the town. And it may not be a business per se, but I think that's one of my strongest points as a people person. I've managed teams up to 75 employees. I have the education in the business background to do that.
And obviously, tons of headlines over the last 2 years with flooding along the shoreline, Lake Ontario. You're smirking because it's one of the issues that no one has been able to escape along the shoreline.
It's a horrible situation.
So when you look at that and you take the role of town supervisor in a community like Sodus, where do you start? Like, what conversation do you start with, or what do you lead with to sort of gauge what can be done, or what steps need to be taken at the local level to help resolve this situation in the long term?
Supervisor Leroy and Sodus Point Mayor McDowell have been working tirelessly on this. They really have. There's been many different things thrown out there. I mean, the latest was a $300 million throw from Cuomo to build up the lake shore and that kind of thing. But the plan is kind of a disaster from the start. Obviously, this is the third year, and we've flooded 2 out of 3, and this one's been worse than the first. So there's so many issues that it causes. I mean, besides the disaster to the homeowners and everything, which is absolutely horrible, they need relief.
$300 million doesn't really seem like it will be enough, or that it'll go far enough. And when it's also sort of mixed in with a broader economic development slant, I guess, some of the concerns that we've heard range in the circle of, is this an idea to build economic development in these communities, or is this to actually fix the infrastructure issues that got us here? Would you like to see, as a stakeholder in Sodus, would you like to see just more funding to fix the infrastructure along the shoreline so that this new normal, as some people have called it, doesn't keep happening over and over again?
That sounds good, but I really don't think that's a solution, because they keep raising the bar. They said the new normal, 249 to 250, but then another federal thing from the IGC, possibly build your place up to 255, and that floods the point.
Right.
I was talking to Chris Turtnick, former mayor of Sodus Point, last night, and they say they want them to build it up to 255 to 257. He said that would put a 9-foot break wall in front of my house, and he's on the water and he's already flooded. So you wouldn't be able to see out of anywhere but the second story or the roof. Right. We have to come up with a better plan. Obviously, there's been things floated all over. The one simple thing that I like, Rich Funky talked about it last weekend at the meeting up in the city, is, hey, let us go back to the old plan for just 2 years. Just 2 years to see what happens. But and if it's Mother Nature and it's global warming, then we'll know we're going to continue to flood. Yeah. If it isn't, if it's planned 2014, then I think we'll know that too. But there's no easy solution. I mean, I think Governor Cuomo could have done a lot earlier to slow this down. I think the IJC needs to do something now to slow this down. But if you really want to find the root cause, it wasn't about muskrats and other wildlife. It was about the money. It was about hydropower and shipping. I mean, there's a great video on YouTube that tells a fact-based, true story about that. And I'll post that link on my Facebook page for anybody that wants to watch it.
And obviously, when you talk about Plan 2014, a lot of folks have said, like you, just roll it back. Let's just go back to the old plan. Does that sort of hollow into the point, though, that there needs to be more local representation in these federal, state, whatever? It doesn't matter. This is not a unique situation in that regard. Does there need to be more local input on these state and federal issues?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll do whatever I can. I'll go to Albany as many times as I can. If need be, I will meet with anybody that I can. I'll be glad to attend meetings with Senator Helming and Assemblyman Mangtalo. We need to get Representative Katko involved, and he is to somewhat. But they need to see the effects of what it does. You know, Cuomo said he's going to sue the IJC. The IJC, that's not, it says that you can't do that. But again, every week there's something else that comes up. But I think a 2-year rollback would be just great, just to see where it actually lays. You know, if it floods again, then maybe it's not 214. But boy, all the evidence points to it.
Now, one of the items in some of your campaign materials has pointed to a focus on Camp Beechwood. So walk us through what some of the things you'd like to see change there, what some of the maybe updates or fixes that you'd like to see to sort of bolster that a little bit and make it more of a community asset.
You know, that's been a knock on Sodus, that we don't have a lot. I mean, we have Sodus Point, and now that's in trouble. We got to fix that. That's a big priority, probably the biggest, the elephant in the room. But we received Camp Beechwood. The state bought that from a friend of mine who's passed, George Reithel, his farm, and they have deeded that, or not deeded, I'm sorry, they have signed that to us for 15 years at a time, looking to renew. I think we have about 5 more years on it. But Supervisor Leroy has done quite a bit of work down there, and I want to continue that. There are things we can do down there as a community. I know, you know, I'd like to have a Camp Beechwood committee. I know some really good people that are interested in making that a great park, and it can be. You know, there's camping down there, there can be fishing down there. We want to set up a bike trail, working with Dan Callahan to hopefully do that. Walking trails, there are nature, bird watching sites that can be set up, and I think there's a couple already. We need to rebuild the infrastructure, the lean-tos and the stuff that are down there. Unfortunately, last year we had arson. Vandalism is the main problem. We have an excellent caretaker there now in Salvatrosi, who keeps very good care of it. And as soon as we have the state, which moves at state pace, install the electric down there, we'll have a great surveillance system to help with that. But Camp Beechwood can be a huge asset for Sodus.
And when you sort of look at Sodus as a whole, infrastructure is always something that comes up in these small communities, water, sewer, that sort of thing. What are some of the concerns that you sort of have or see? Maybe they're not issues right this second, but they are things that you know Sodus is going to have to reckon with in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Is Sodus facing that same or similar challenge where you know they have these looming infrastructure issues that they will have to deal with, and a little bit of planning is going to be necessary to make it happen or to make it fix?
Yep, we've tried to stay ahead of the curve. We've rebuilt 2 bridges, at least 2 in the last 2 years since I've been on the board, and I know they did a couple before that. We have a major bridge in Sodus Center next to the fire department that we've been working on, trying to get a grant to rebuild because it's been deemed historic, so it costs $1.2 million to fix instead of $300,000. So that looks like that will be done in a couple of years. We finally broke through on that one. Yeah, the roads, you know, you can always keep working on the roads. I don't think we have any major road problems in the town. So the infrastructure in Sodus isn't bad because we've kind of tried to stay ahead of it. And we don't have a lot of overhead bridges and stuff
Right.
that major cities or anything does. But you can always continue to do more. We have a great superintendent of highways that stays on top of that, you know, spreads it out throughout the town, the money that we have available to keep working on things and never let things get to the deterioration level. You know, preventive maintenance is a lot cheaper than corrective maintenance.
Amen to that. And you know, obviously, part of this responsibility is serving on the Wayne County Board of Supervisors.
Yes, sir.
So when you look at Wayne County as a whole, what are a couple of the opportunities, maybe not just for Sodus, but for Wayne County as a whole, to start to elevate itself and to sort of cash in on some of these opportunities that have, come to pass or come at least popped up on the radar in other communities around Wayne County?
And obviously I'm a Wayne County fan. I'm a Sodus guy, but I'm a Wayne County resident too. And like you said, I would be on the Wayne County Board of Supervisors. I think solar is one. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it was wind a few years ago, and then solar kind of pushed that away. But they're both ample opportunities. And Wayne County has tried to stay ahead of this curve a little bit with their Economic Development Committee, and I know that's brought some businesses into town. I've seen some ribbon cuttings lately with Senator Helming and Assemblyman Mangtalo. They've been doing tireless work to help promote Wayne County, and that's, I think, the biggest thing that we need to do. It comes down to bringing the businesses in and offering things. If it's a bit of a tax exemption or there's different ways. You just have to think outside the box and get them here.
And when you talk to voters who might be a little frustrated or a little tired of politics or government, maybe not feeling like it's working for them, what's your elevator pitch to them to sort of get them on board with some of your goals and what you want to do?
To give me a shot and to get involved. I want people involved. I do not have all the answers, but I'm willing to listen. I'm always willing to say I'm sorry. I'm willing to make a mistake and own up to it and fix it. But I want people to get involved. And the first involvement you can make is voting, no matter who you vote for. Then you have a little more voice. It really comes down to getting involved in your community. I want everybody to be involved so that they can they'll take pride in their town. If you just sit back and complain, or you're a keyboard warrior on Facebook, that really doesn't help a whole lot. Come into, if I'm lucky enough to get elected, come into my office. Tell me what you got. I'll listen. I'm a listener. Like I said, I don't know everything. Never thought I did. Never will. But I'm willing to listen to anyone. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter to me.
All right. Scott, appreciate the time. Thanks for coming in. Great conversation. And best of luck in the coming months as you get towards Election Day.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.